Hello. Yeah, hang on. We've got some. Well, don't ask me where I am this morning. I'm all sixes and sevens as usual, but things do seem to be working. I managed to do the odd test, so hopefully we can bring you a full stream of programs today, with you being able to listen to it and see it at the same time. Miracles will never ever uh, um, cease to exist. I'm Keith Hayes. This is Mirador Television coming out of Lewes, East Sussex, and he is. We've got the sticky plaster out. The boys worked hard all night to try and get everything right, and let's hope they have. But certainly, the steam train. Well done, Tony. The steam train is there, still waiting for me. The steam train addict, and it's still snowing, and it's lovely. What was it like this morning coming to? So we made it. we made it. We're here. What good that will do anybody, I have no idea. Normally, Fergus Woods would Fergus Wood would be here with me this morning, but he's begged to leave the last couple of weeks simply because business is booming. And like us, he's more or less a one-man band. He's set up his wine business. I don't know, perhaps a little over a year ago, and he's doing extremely well, and we're very pleased for him. We do miss him, and we hope that we'll have him back next week. He did say he would try and get back with us before Christmas. So there we are. We're full of beans this morning. We hope we're full of beans anyway, because all sorts of things can go wrong, can't they? I showed a little bit there, struggling to work in the dark. Yes, it does. It stays dark for quite a long time this morning. Well, every morning at the moment when you get up. When is the shortest day? It's something like the 18th of December, is it? Or something like that. Anyway, we made it in. Here we are. Once again, I'm Keith Hayes. I have no idea what's happened to my title this morning. Let's not worry too much. You know that it's Mirador Television. You know that we're live, and that we're trying hard to bring you as much information and so on as we possibly can. Oh, isn't it funny? It always gets the hiccups just at that very moment in time. Now, as usual, there's always some drawback. And now my phone keeps on switching off every 2 seconds. God only knows what I pressed this morning to deserve that. But there it is. So perhaps we should go straight to the newspaper headlines. So that, well, first of all, let me just tell you that about 9 o'clock this morning, is the forecast for the storm hitting, and that we're going to have high winds and a pretty lousy day. So if you need to get out now and then get back before 9 o'clock. Right, what are the headlines in the papers to say? Well, today there are two. One is a favorite of mine, and that is that red tape and so on it just injures everybody. And why on earth we allow the civil service at all levels to dabble in it and get away with it, I have no idea, because all it does is harms people. And whether, in fact, you're terribly sympathetic to the situation in Afghanistan or not. It is claimed that red tape has just left thousands and thousands of people who helped the West in a war zone, in a war system, and who were promised safety if things went wrong, that they would be helped and looked after, aren't. And mostly it's because of red tape at the Foreign Office. I don't know why, as a society, we allow this to happen. We don't have to. We can all fight this silly nonsense of people who are trained just to do whatever a piece of paper says. There's a train coming at you. Well, I'll fill out the form to stop it. Yeah, it's bloody nonsense. And here we are now, a country which, in the eyes of much of the world, that doesn't honor its pledges. Mind you, the Americans are just as bad, and the West leaves a bitter feeling. And then the next time it wants help, it wonders why we don't get it. We don't get any sympathy. Well, I can almost tell you. Right, so The Guardian, Afghans left to die in Kabul due to the UK red tape chaos. And that comes from our diplomat, a man who was on the ground there and who saw what was happening as far as the assistance and the promises and so on that our government made through the Foreign Office. The Daily Mail, Afghans killed as Whitehall worked from home. And what they're pointing out is, that civil servants have worked from home. And once again, at all levels. I mean, that's true locally as well. People working from home. That's okay if you work from home. But what it does is, inevitably, it slows down every process, except for one. And that is when they want money off you, boy, somehow those are the people who either go into the office or they get a special computer at home to make damn sure that if you owed something on a Tuesday, is that by Tuesday night, they're hounding for it if it hasn't been paid. The Times. Omicron cases in the UK double every 3 days, it says. Experts are warning that this is going to be a new pandemic, that we're all getting out of control if we don't do something about it. But the argument is, why spoil Christmas? And I suppose everything in our heart says we don't want Christmas spoiled, even if the pandemic is coming at us. Oh, come back, you nonsense thing. It is a difficult one, isn't it? It really is a difficult one. I want Christmas. I don't want a shutdown. Shutdown killed Mirador last time. Not quite. They did a damn good job at murdering it, but we rose from the ashes. We were like the phoenix, and here we are. We're still here. But another dose of lockdown and difficulties with where we can go, what we can do, what we can say, and how we can deal is going to be a killer. So I personally don't want to see us go back into lockdown. Having said that, if it's going to kill thousands of people, we've got to be very cognizant of that and all bite the bullet. UK ministers bullish about no plan B as Omicron starts to spread in community. You notice one time I say Omicron and the other is Omicron. I haven't a clue how you really pronounce it. Omicron sounds right if you follow the rules of grammar. What it means, what the eye is saying is that in fact the ministers are pouncing around saying, well, don't worry, we have no plan in place for lockdown and so on and so forth, because we're quite sure that everything is going to be okay. If that's the case, why is the stats rising, going up once every 3 days? It said thousands being added to the infectious roll. The Daily Telegraph, booster rollout at a standstill. What it says is where we've been so very good in getting the vaccine to people and getting it to points where people can get it, is the third jab boost is stalled. That it's not doing its job, that we're not getting it there, and all sorts of people who are vulnerable could get it but can't because the system is frozen. Any of this the truth? These are newspaper headlines. Please don't think that this is me saying that it's a fact. I'm pointing out to you what the headlines are saying and what the newspapers are saying. Mirror, a government cover-up led to Grenfell. Well, the Mirror takes a different tack and often does. And what it's saying is that the Grenfell flat tragedy with the fire is people, ministers have known for a long time that those flats and that sort of stuff was vulnerable and could create disaster. And now that they're trying to pretend that they didn't. Well, that sounds familiar too. The Daily Express, the Bank of England warns price rises will bite even harder. What the Express, and the Express is normally sympathetic to the government, is saying that expect prices in the shops to rise. The price of goods, the price of energy, and so on, led by the price of energy, I may say. And undoubtedly, Stuart will, with me tomorrow, will have something to say. And it's a continuing problem, and one that, once again, we seem powerless to grapple with. I mean, what is it about this generation? They seem to be powerless to grapple with anything. At least we got the steam train back. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely beautiful. But we can expect price rises, and the inflation after Christmas is likely to rise above 5%. We're a whole decade of almost zero inflation. We're not used to it. We're not used to the fact that on a Friday something is 2 and 6pence, and by Monday morning it's inflation has pushed it up to 3 shillings. So we've got to get used to the fact that we're going to have to pay more. And of course, what that then does is it gives a drive for revenues need to go up. Otherwise, people are in trouble. It's a vicious circle. Normally what happens is that the central bank puts a cap. Well, actually, what it does is it raises interest rates to make money more expensive and therefore cool down the economy. But for the moment, the Bank of England and the American central bank have not put up rates. And in fact, in some parts of the world, I think it was the Central Bank of Turkey that actually lowered interest rates. So that's put the cat amongst the pigeons. Everybody pays for it in the long run. Let's see, anything else from the Financial Times? SEC probes Trump's non-woke group as blank check fears rise. What that's all about is that Donald Trump is now trying to buy or set up a media empire so that he can spread the word that he's back and ready to bring Trumpism to the United States a second time. And don't laugh, because there are many people that want to see him back. They are not happy with what's happening there in the United States. Metro, Golf Aces Mile High Rampage. Golf Aces Mile High Rampage. And it says that a well-known golfer, a professional golfer, actually romped with a lady, whether she wanted it or not, on a plane, which is known as the Mile High Club. If you actually have sex on a commercial plane in the air, so he's accused of doing that. I'm not going to name him because I don't think it's fair, and anyway, it's not proven yet. The Daily Star is Grape Expectations. Good old Daily Star. The papers went in this morning, and I'm going to add, I forget who it is that actually distributes the papers, but I'll find out, and we'll put them on a monkeys list, a cheeky monkey, because basically what happens is that the papers are distributed by 2 companies. So there's more or less a monopoly. And the one that delivers the papers to my corner shop, where dear old Fred is the manager and looking after it, and he looks after me very well. This morning he said, "I'm sorry, Keith, no paper for you. They haven't delivered." And nobody, it doesn't matter if you complain, they don't care. And that's the big problem with our society is when you actually get down a monopolistic situation is nobody cares. So the papers are late, nobody cares. Excuse? Fine. And actually, once again, it's amazing how, because I'm a hands-on journalist, is for 2 or 3 years, I actually got up every morning and just out of the joy of doing it, joined Arthur and Fred in pushing in the papers I think it's called Martin's on the corner of the High Street, and we used to put in the papers and sort them out. So we got to know all the problems and who was good and who was bad and so on and so forth. And delivering the papers to actually the news agent is something that some fingers need to be slapped. Will they do it? Not a bit of it. Doesn't become important, does it? No, but it is an erosion once again of what we consider to be a decent way of life and an efficient way of life. So the Daily Star, great expectations, because it says that the boffins have discovered that there is something in grapes that can, if treated properly, can give you an extra decade on your life. I'm not sure I want an extra decade on my life, for God's sake. Everything's going downhill at such a great rate of knots. Do I really want to see it end on the bottom? No, I'll leave that to my children and my children's children. But the only other thing is that what it doesn't say is that the other thing to come out of the grape is a decent wine. Now you're with me. Now you're with me. Right. Okay, that is a look at the newspapers this morning. So it is COVID and whether we are ethical, and the red tape has stopped us helping those people in Afghanistan who helped our troops, who helped us. And I must say that worries me enormously, that as a country we would do it. But also, having traveled the world, you get a feel for how people see you. And it's these sort of things are you faithful to your friends? At a high level, at a country level, at a diplomatic level, are you faithful to your friends? And that's how a lot of countries see us. So don't get carried away. Don't get carried away. We're not doing very well at the moment. And we're not doing very well with COVID overshadowing everything, unless you want to read the Star, in which case, one way or another, if you start to take the grape, you could live for another 10 years. Oh my God, I'll tell you, people who know me would hide the grape from me if that was the case. They find it difficult to put up with me at the moment. Another 10 years would just absolutely finish them. Right, you are. Now, let's just chat a little bit about what's happening on Mirador. I'm going to have to click in because I have no way of telling the time if I don't. Why it plays up like this, why it's so stupid, I don't know. It's 20 minutes past 8. And we've been on the air for 18 minutes and 14 seconds, which means we started about a minute and a little bit late this morning. And that was just my finger. There was no particular reason. I was trying hard to do 1,000 things, of course, and to see whether I could bring you little snippets. Well, there is one little snippet. And I think that essentially, we all get carried away with Christmas being a terrific time of the year. Now, just before the first lockdown, we did at Mirador a summary and a look at what was happening at Christmas time in other parts of the world. And I don't want to take away from Father Christmas. I don't want to take away from the office party. I don't want to take away from oysters and champagne. I enjoy all those things and I enjoy them to the full. And if there is a party on hand, then you'll find me knocking on the door saying, am I invited? But we tend to forget, even though there are lots of charities. I mean, our own Susan Harris does a great job in doing all sorts of things for charity. She's kept the precinct single-handedly alive and going during this process leading up to Christmas, so that we can give some funds and some help and some comfort to those people who need it, whether they be sick, whether they be elderly, whether they be homeless, or whether they be moneyless. And well done, Susan. She's really done an outstanding job, And she needs all the support she can get. However, there are things which we can't do much about unless we do it collectively. And I thought you might be interested in Yes, I think so. Let's hope. Let's play.
Here's the news this Christmas. There have been 68 conflicts going on in the world this year. Disease has affected billions. Famine has hit 78 million. 830 million have gone hungry. 100 million are without homes. 250,000 acres of forest disappear every day. 250 million children can't read. 21 million children are forced to work. 3 billion live in poverty. 1.25 million violent crimes in the UK. 300,000 workdays lost from strikes. Over 1 million telephone calls for cruelty to animals. A very happy Christmas. The UK and US will spend over £100 million this Christmas. Goodbye.
Well, makes you think, doesn't it? Has the situation improved? I doubt it. I doubt that the situation has improved at all. That moss that appears to be on my hat, by the way, is my hat is clear moss. It's just that slight aberration that we get with the backdrop that brings us that lovely steam train. Oh ho ho ho! Unfortunately, there's not much I can do about it here at this very moment in time. But nonetheless, that's what it's about. So that I think should give us some thought about what's going on in the world. While we are fat and sassy, the only thing is that we are not now as fat and as sassy as we were then. Lockdown has caused great problems. But that doesn't mean to say that there aren't still millions of homeless, millions of children who have to work. I was talking to somebody the other day, a friend in Ghana who has a small cocoa farm, and she runs a very ethical ship. But she is aware that, for instance, in the Ivory Coast, that quite often the people who pick the cocoa beans are in 9, 8, 10. In other words, child labor. And that sometimes when conflict has hit the West Africans, that those become boy soldiers or children soldiers. They actually are given rifles. And has that improved? It's difficult to say because we tend to forget to report things once they go out of the conscious of the world, and these things often do, and that's why people who should be helping with reform, they rely upon the fact that the rest of us forget, and that we won't keep asking until next time around. Very sad. Very sad indeed. Okay, brace yourself for high winds this morning. They weren't high this morning when I came into work. They were okay. But we are supposed to get the full force of a storm today, starting in Lewis around about 9 o'clock, around about half an hour from now. Yeah, it's about 25 past 8. And we just have to worry a little bit about this storm because it could alter travel. If you've got travel plans today, be careful. Lorries could be blown over. Points on the railway and trees on the line could become a bit of a norm throughout the day. And the buses will be rocked because of their height. It's only going to reach about 8 degrees. That's a couple of degrees warmer than it was yesterday, but it's still cool enough. So do wrap up. And actually, when I came to work this morning, I've got surefire ways of telling whether the people at the weather bureaus are telling porcupines or not. If they say it's a stiff breeze, I look outside and I look at my famous trees. And if the trees are rocketing backwards and forwards, I know that they're telling the truth. And another way is to see whether you can see my breath. Well, this morning when at the bus stop, yes, you could. And the end of my nose was telling me that the temperature was plummeting. So watch out. It is cool outside. It is going to be a strong breeze for even the start of the day. And if we've got a strong breeze, that means it's going to feel colder than it really is. So if it's the temperature is legitimately 8 degrees, it could feel minus, well, not minus, but another 2 or 3 degrees lower if the wind actually picks up and spreads the chill. So that's the weather you can expect today. Not so much rain as high winds and stormy conditions, and rather bad stormy conditions. Will we miss it in Lewis? Sometimes we are so lucky, and other times we take the full brunt of the storms and the winds and the rains coming off the channel without much to protect us between New Haven and here. Speaking of New Haven, I have prepared a little video on New Haven. I didn't get a chance to test it. I tried hard to test it before we came on the air this morning, but I just didn't have time to finish it. But we will be showing that tomorrow. Because New Haven is much neglected. But if you actually take it in snapshots, it's got so much to offer. I made a suggestion, and it wasn't a terribly serious suggestion, but a lot of people on New Haven social media said, hey, not a bad idea. And I suggested that we followed the path of Vilnius and the old town in Warsaw and so on, and reconstructed the inner town of New Haven, which is the part that's falling to pieces. I pointed out that the transport system there, the bypasses, while everybody swears at them, actually form almost a town wall. So the inside, the inner town of New Haven is trapped, and people quite like going into that as long as it's something worthwhile inside. The city of Lucca, for instance, is a walled city. It's still got its walls. It's in northern Italy. So I made the suggestion that perhaps what we should do is treat the bypass as the walls of the city and reconstruct what New Haven was like. And in the New Haven piece, I found a photograph of New Haven in 1930, and what an attractive little town it is. And why can't it be an attractive little town again? Okay, it's got some regeneration funds. And when you read, with all the faffing around is the politicians, the leaders, seem to come up with, well, what we'll do is we'll make sure we've got an environmentally friendly center where businesses can come and do work. Whoopee. Sounds very imaginative, I must say. What we look for is imagination. Is if you get a town that's attractive and people are attracted to it, the income goes up, the taxes go up, the amount of money you have to spend on the other things, such as environmentally friendly workstations or whatever. But we go the other way around. We get some money and we decide to be environmentally friendly, and we leave the town as it is. And then when the money runs out and there's nobody there, we get all excited. Anyway, the people of New Haven are very decent people. And I was there for a couple of months, the beginning part of the summer. I found a lovely little pub. The Prince of Wales, is it? Or I've just forgotten the name of the pub, but a delightful little pub. And I'm told that there are 3 or 4 more very nice pubs in the New Haven area. I found out that the waterfront is very exciting. It can be even more so. There's an editor who started to sell lobster sandwiches. He's making a fortune, a lobster sandwich. I think that's terrific. But I also discovered that in the inner part of the town, in a not terribly attractive environment, there was what I would call a transport cafe, called the Rose or something of the sort, and it served a fabulous breakfast for about £4. And there are other little places which had coffee availability and which are very, very pleasant. In fact, New Haven isn't a bad little town. What it needs is it needs a new dress. It needs somebody to tart it up, to make it look attractive, because it is attractive enough. But it's like anything else. People don't go unless they see the place is attractive. And that was my suggestion. Oh, well, I had a lot of citizens, ordinary citizens, say, yeah, hey, go for it, Keith. That's the sort of thing. And I don't want to interfere in New Haven any more than I interfere in Lewis and Seaford. But I am the mouth that roars. And I call it as I see it. And it's about time that perhaps we saw some of our politicians start to think in terms of and look at some of the great successes in other parts of the world. Just two messages from Ghana. I'm trying to help a former student in Ghana who is trying to set up a business. When I say help, whatever little advice I can give. But I trained her in London about 4 years ago, and she's remembered me and come back and said, Keith, you said a couple of things. Could you reaffirm them and see if they'll work for me now? And the other lady is the cocoa farm lady, and she's very anxious to make sure that her legacy, as it were, a cocoa farm, is put to good use. It's a tough business, cocoa farming in Africa, because so many people are on the breadline doing it. But with a bit of thought, I can see that it could be potentially an excellent business. Anyway, those are beside the point, but they just cropped up a couple of inquiries, which I'll deal with the moment that we're off the air today. Now, what have we got coming up for you? Hopefully, when you saw a lot of lips moving yesterday, and not a great deal sound to tell you what it was all about. I have tried to test things this morning, and if I punch the right buttons, it's just possible that it might work. And I hope that it does work, because then there are some interesting programs. The unfortunate thing is that when we go into the files, the most easily accessible are things that I've done. And I must say that at the moment for this week, it looks as if there's nobody at Mirador except me. Well, believe me, we've got a terrific team. You hear me talk about Nick and Tony. Well, Nick is a businessman here in the communications industry, and he knows his stuff. And he's trying to help Tony Johnson, who is our studio manager, keep the ship steady by making sure that our systems don't break down and so on. But the interesting thing is, television is a funny old game. It turns out that Nick is just an excellent outside broadcaster, an excellent reporter, and he discovered that on Bonfire Night, and then on Late Night Shopping, we gave him his head, and he was brilliant. He was just and Tony was along with him, taking some separate shots to the live stream, and has put together, some of you have seen it, a very nice 10-minute presentation on what happened on that night. And we are going to show before Christmas a look back at both, not the hours that a live broadcast brings to you, but a couple of 10-minuters that will recall for you what happened both on Bonfire Night, and also the late night shopping, so that you can get a feel for what we've been doing during the year. And when I say we, I'm not talking about Mirador. I'm talking about we as a community. And actually, I must. There is a lot to be grateful for. And I must say, since I'm always having a go at all the politicians and all the councils and so on, is that the mayor of Lewes, Stephen Catlin, who actually is an occasional contributor to Mirador Television, and can't do it at the moment because of conflict of interest with the fact that he's the mayor. But he has pushed and pulled and tugged, and every time there is something, he's out there in the streets talking to people. And we have to give full credit where credit is due. Stephen Catlin has been a driver for a more exciting Lewes in the post-lockdown period. Yeah, okay, so there's Nick and Tony looking after the technicals. But our regular contributors, we have got Fergus Wood with wine. We've got Liza Page with her interviews, and the one this morning is with David Icke. It's a bit long, but it's even if you just watch part of it, I think that you'll find what an intriguing character. That the world has more or less rejected and said, we don't believe a word that you say, but a very influential man, even so, and very logical. So Eliza will bring you each week a different interviewee of interest. And we've got Sarah Fitch Hayes, the young artist, who is absolutely terrific. It doesn't matter whether it's a tree on the downs or whether it's the Marmite in your fridge. She can represent it, and she tells us why she does these things. And she's kept me being tempted with a banana split that she's busy painting, and which we will get into the studio. Actually, we won't get into the studio before Christmas, but after Christmas, the banana split will be there after we've had the Coke bottle and the gobsuckers. The sweets that used to be chewy balls and came out of a machine which was truly American. So Sarah brings a lot to the table as well. And there's Stuart Dolby, who, although he does the energy stuff, also works hard in the background to make us successful. So we've got a fair old team. Of course, there is Andrew Sloan, the barber of Seville, as somebody said, who runs Grizzlies on Market Street, and an interesting character. Yeah, I mean, he's full of kindness and humor and so on. But like me, he's disturbed by some things, and he calls a spade a shovel, and that's what we like on Mirador. People who call a spade a shovel. Now, I've missed out several people that are contributing at the moment, and I will, as I come across them or as I remember them, mention them, because it is good to have a team of people that try to make something like this work, and to start to get the support and the advice from people like Mick Symes, who runs Lewes Present, the social page on Facebook. And Kevin Kramer, who has been a broadcaster around town for a long time, and who knows his stuff, and who gives us advice. So lots of people and things who support here at Mirador and have kept us going and will keep us going and make valuable contributions. Now to be somebody now saying, Keith, you missed me out. Never mind. Oh, we've got a new, we call her the studio mentor. She's got a real eye for the way things should be put together with paintings and so on and so forth. Janet Evans has taken on that role. She'll start in the new year so that our studio starts to look prettier and prettier, but also becomes functional, because we do need an area where people can change. We do need an area where people can put on their makeup. Cameras today are pretty damn good. You when I was at Reuters, for instance, which was 20 years ago, I had to carry makeup around with me. And okay, we're not too fine, but I have to do this and slap it on. I don't have to anymore. I can look ugly without it. Oh gosh, what's the time? What is the time? Oh, no, it hasn't got the time there. That's really very naughty. But we have been on the air for 40 minutes. So my guess is, yes, it's 8:43. Goodness gracious me, we're charging through the morning, absolutely charging through the morning. And who are we? We're Mirador Television, based in Lewes, East Sussex. Do try and find us on Facebook, on YouTube, on our own miradortelevision.com website, and all sorts of other places. We're on LinkedIn. At least sometimes we're on LinkedIn with various things, and sometimes with Instagram. And soon we will hopefully be back on your phones and on your smart televisions, if everything goes according to plan. But The Mouth That Roars. And one program that I am going to bring to you in the next little while is called The Return of the Triffids. And those people who don't know what a Triffid is, look it up. The Triffids invaded the world in 1951, courtesy of a science fiction writer called John Wyndham. They made it into a movie, which was made, I think, in the 1960s and the 1970s, The Day of the Triffids. And the Day of the Triffids explains where some giant plants, which we think were man-made, but may have come from outer space, were used to produce oil. And they were kept in plantations and so on, and they duly produced the oil which we needed. Great friends to man, if you like, or at least man controlled them and got great benefits out of them. But then there was a starburst, and everybody was blinded in Britain, except for those people who were fortunately in hospital having eye operations and were bandaged. The Triffids took advantage of this and took over the world. Man fought back and wasn't immediately successful, but eventually regained the upper hand. So we are where we are today. But my thesis, which I expound in The Day of the Triffids, or The Return of the Triffids, is that the computers are lulling mankind into a sort of vulnerable situation. Go to my bank, and people are very, very nice, and I talk to them. It has to go to the computer. It has to go to the computer at head office. And last night, I had a talk with the chap from American Express. And I said, look, I pay a certain amount each month. And here is the due date. And I have discussed with your representative that sometimes, just to help my cash flow, is I like to expand that day by 3 or 4. Yes, they say yes, and they're all very pleasant and so on. But nobody tells the computer. So the computer starts the bullying process and makes life very miserable. And the computer will generate phone calls in the middle of church, on a Sunday night, in the middle of a holiday. And that's not on. And it doesn't matter what they'll say to you when you actually phone and you talk to them, and charming and nice though they are, is the fact of the matter is that we have got computers who don't pay any attention to their human masters and are beginning to take over the world. Well, the Triffids are aware of that. The Triffids have only gone into the background. We didn't destroy them altogether. And the Triffids are waiting for their chance to take over the world and looking for our weaknesses. And our weakness at the moment is the computer. And until we stop allowing the computer to run our lives, and that we run computers to help better our lives, then we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And the Triffids are ready to pounce. And believe me, they are monstrous things, monstrous things. So watch out for the return of the Triffids on Mirador television. It helps my rant. The other thing is that my program that we started a show just before lockdown called Mad, which details the plight of a young lady who is anonymous. We use a pseudonym for her so that nobody could know who she is. But she has been very badly treated by those people who are supposed to help. And it would appear that nobody has learned any lessons at all because she is still, after having a period of relative, freedom from some of the things that ail her, has now got people who come around and ask questions that she doesn't understand. Do they try to understand? No, they don't. No. So the reform of mental health with with William now supporting a major charity is high time that we should be here. It's 8:49. And it's Tuesday, the 7th of December. And I'm Keith Hayes. And you are well, if you want to catch the train, that's standing in the Lewis station, just waiting off. The trains are pretty important here. You can get to Hastings or in the east, which means that you can join the ferries and the high-speed rail link to France through the Channel Tunnel. You can go west, and you can get to Brighton and Hove or many mill points west of here. You can get to London and the north, and you can get to places like Reading and so on, all from the station hub in Lewis. So trains are very, very important to us. And indeed, trains really put the kibosh on Lewis historically in the 1800s. In the 1800s, Lewis was a flourishing port, and one of its specialities was the barges. And the barges brought up the clay, which helped build the railway lines, made the bedrock for it. And the railway then, because it was a much more efficient way of carrying goods than the barges on the River Ouse, the Lewis as a port diminished. So it's not really a port at all. There's no port activity at all. There is a regatta once a year where we have a marvelous time with the raft race, but that's what it's all about. Now, as we go on, just a reminder that it's COVID and the fact that we've abandoned our friends in Afghanistan are making the headlines this morning. I could rant and rave about a whole host of things. But what we've got coming up, hopefully, are a series of programs that you can dip into and dip out of. One is a little self-indulgence because it's my tall tales. And the fact that I am secretly the record holder of what used to be, it's now at the 800 meters, but it used to be the half mile and the high jump. And in fact, even some prowess at weightlifting because of my encounter with the grizzly bear. in the wilds. Actually, when I watched the thing, it's a long time since I watched it or even told the story. But it is sort of, if it makes me laugh, it might make you laugh as well. So that's one of the things. Stuart Dolby keeps us up to date with what's happening on the energy front. And Stuart will be refreshing his program each Wednesday. So there will be a new one on the web with new energy matters, and then it will join the program schedule on a Thursday until Stuart does things the next Wednesday. The lady that I mentioned, Fitch Hayes, Sarah Fitch Hayes, she's just a joy to be with, and full of buoyancy and so on. And Liza Page, who has spent she cut her teeth in an interview show in Hollywood many years ago, and you don't do that without some considerable skill. And she is today interviewing David Icke, a very controversial figure, very controversial indeed, and in some places has been banned from appearing on. But as long as it's not libel, and as long as we're not doing material harm to people, so we will be a voice, happily be a voice. So there we are. That is the situation at. And it's not going to tell me the time now. Oh, it is 8:53. 8:53. So I've been rabbiting on for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be self-indulgent again, because we are leading up into Christmas. And look at the beautiful scene behind me. The snow, the steam train. It's all tranquil. We are all ready, if lockdown permits, to have a good time. But you know, there are people in this world, and we reminded people in 2018 that they are here. And I think that it's, let's just remind you again of some of the things that are happening in the world, and that we shouldn't be too fat and sassy about Christmas at home.
Here's the news this Christmas. There have been 68 conflicts going on in the world this year. Disease has affected billions. Famine has hit 78 million. 830 million have gone hungry. 100 million are without homes. 250,000 acres of forest disappear every day. 250 million children can't read. 21 million children are forced to work. 3 billion live in poverty. 1.25 million violent crimes in the UK. 300,000 workdays lost from strikes. Over 1 million telephone calls for cruelty to animals. A very happy Christmas. The UK and US will spend over £100 million this Christmas. Goodbye.
Am I a killjoy? Were we killjoys? I don't think so. The reason for Christmas is the birth of Christ. No matter what religion you are, that's why we celebrate Christmas. Most people who very stupidly want to say seasonal and so on and so forth deny the Christianity is go and have your own. Well, there are all sorts of non-Christian festivals which you can have. Just don't tamper with ours. That's all. It's a fair enough question. It's a fair enough request from you. Just leave us alone. And you don't have to celebrate Christmas. But the fact of the matter is that all of us, whether we're celebrants or not, should be aware of what's going on in the world. And the situation hasn't changed that much from that 2018 newscast that we put out. Okay. It's it's ridiculous. It's 8:07. There's 8:57. 8:57 it is. Only 3 minutes left. So I'm going to say toodle pip. Watch out, at around 9 o'clock, the storm is supposed to hit. If I look out of the window, I can't see evidence of it yet. But there are very, very strong winds on the way. And they could not only cause damage, they cause damage to you in the streets if you're not aware and you're not careful. So do be careful and make sure that you treat this storm with some caution. These type of weather conditions kill, and kill they will. So we're now going to go to hopefully other colleagues and see what they have to say in our stream programs. So stay with us on Mirador, and if you feel like tapping in and tapping out, please do. And we're very happy for you to take a look at some of the things that we have to say. Some you'll agree with, some you won't. But we don't care. We say things as they are, and we are not subject to any pressures at all. Some people get on our back, give us a right old kicking, and me in particular. But we are a forum to be able to say what you want to say, and it should be that way. So in just another couple of minutes, that's what we're going to do. 8:59. We will now let's say goodbye on this one, and let's see if we can. Let's see if we can bring up the rest of the program successfully this morning. I'm Keith Hayes. I'm in Lewis. That's my train behind me. That's my snow falling. Those are my trees with the lovely coating of snow as they are. And I am very proud to be broadcasting, even albeit on a very small scale at the moment, from Lewis in East Sussex, and able to give you some of the opinions that we have here in this tiny town. All right, so toodle pip, and we'll see you tomorrow. Well, should be coming up any minute. Let's give it a try.
Good morning. I'm Stuart Dorby, energy correspondent of Mirador Television. I'm also editor and publisher of greenbarrel.com, a platform aiming to get investment for renewable energy companies. Today, I'm going to talk about the local district council here in Lewis and their plans, their update of what they're doing about climate change. Back in the day in 2019, I attended a sustainability meeting when the council spokesman said, we are aiming for a target of 0 carbon emissions by 2030. And I asked, well, how are you going to do that? Well, we're going to put lots of electric charging points in place and plant lots of trees. And I said, well, do you have a sort of joined up plan about this, like say Ovesco, which is a company here which puts solar panels into school roofs and to reduce the carbon emissions. And they got a joint up plan in the sense they will plant so many solar panels which will result in a certain number of carbon emissions reductions. And they said, well, no, we don't have a joint up plan. And I thought, well, what the hell are they doing? Anyway, time went on and they've put up this new plan recently. The district council has got a new leader this year in the Green Party. And they have given us a sort of a shopping list of what they're doing. And a couple of things. There's some. It has such things as protecting the South Downs. First of all, they would decarbonise the council's housing stock. Well, that sounds very strange to me, as 85% of the houses in this country are heated by gas boilers. Is the district council seriously thinking of getting rid of the gas boilers in the council's housing stock? It would cost a fortune. A, to get rid of the thing was, and B, to replace them with air-fueled heat pumps, which opening bid is £10,000 to get one, whereas a gas boiler costs £3,000. And so, are they going to actually pay that money? I know the government is now giving grants to have an electric heat pump, air-fueled heat pump on, but that's probably about 5,000 quid. Well, how the social housing people can find the extra 5,000?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it does look as if we've got the same problem as we had yesterday. So I guess our broadcast system is just isn't up to the job, and until it is, problems we had yesterday. So I guess our broadcast system is isn't up to the job. So we'll have to bring you these programs at a later date, and I do apologize. But it's better that we get it right before we actually come back on the air, I think. So for the moment, Keith Hayes, sorry about that. They are good stories, they're good programs, but toodle pip.